Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Mini Metro. This time I will be doing, I'm an idiot, I did not pull up the appropriate words in front of me, the Square Times achievement, which is deliver 1,600 passengers in New York City with Square stations on no more than 2 lines. That was a mouthful. So this is actually my second attempt in which I actually successfully completed it, and I feel that the key strategy in here is pretty straightforward, and it's also sort of relevant to how the map in general is structured. So basically, square stations are no more than 2 lines. So I felt that to start with, the best way is to establish a loop within the first square station, and to somehow, like, depending on the placement of the other square stations, maybe have the second line maybe thread to one of the square stations, but crossing across the rivers, such that it's sort of like it basically ferries all the square customers that are spawning on the other side of the river. But well, let's just say I know what happens, since I'm again doing this post commentary. But yeah, we'll see how things go, because I mean, obviously, when I was doing this challenge, I didn't know where the square stations would spawn, so it's only natural to assume that they can randomly spawn anywhere on the map, and as such, we kind of need to be flexible. We kind of just need to sort of just keep it in mind every time we reorder the train lines. But in my opinion, this is not too hard, but 1,600 passengers is definitely a bit steep, so that's definitely where the difficulty comes in, when basically the game goes on for longer, and more customers start stacking up, and you basically have to end up managing more train stations. So we can see the red line now is sort of just, it's getting a bit busy now, and since it's the only one with the square station, is basically that's the only customers it can really afford to transport from all the other stations, which is, as you can see, is sort of keeping itself fairly busy. And there's our second square station. So I sort of figured at the time, well, you know, we only need 2 lines covering the square stations, so it's okay to put the green one there for now. I didn't really bother to sort of just attach the bridge over, because as you can see what just happened, I just used it for the blue line. Certainly, keeping a fair number of bridges in mind is important, because you will definitely maybe want to thread several lines through, and to sort of just get it to work. I had something in my head, but I didn't know how to phrase it. So and you probably just want to keep threading things around appropriately enough, and to choose appropriate resources. Personally, I feel getting more lines in the first couple of weeks is important, because your initial train lines would definitely be restricted to the square stations, so you will definitely want to have a few more additional lines to begin with for that flexibility. So the main structure you can see that's happening right now is that at the moment I've sort of like established a central sort of like loopish sort of area for the lines containing the square stations, and the outer stations just feed in only the square customers only onto one station. Now, this was actually an interesting concept that I sort of just realized while I was doing it, and at the moment I still don't have any hard or fast theory on how to order, like, I'm just gonna say the external stations, or maybe the outer stations, and which in this case I'm referring to the purple or the pink and the blue lines. So as you can see, they're sort of just feeding in customers into one station, and since it's only one station, it will always or more consistently be square customers, in which we basically leave the red and the green lines to handle. So that's pretty much the plan for now, and for memory, it ended up working out pretty well. I will admit that the purple line sort of just started making me feel a bit uncomfortable, because it's starting to get a bit long, and certainly there are congestion issues with sort of just like the train reaching the end of the line and not picking up all the customers. And yeah, so the key thing to bear in mind is that when you're establishing your lines that are only to transport the square customers, the stations that the square customers get deposited on will certainly experience larger than usual levels of congestion, because since the other lines can't really, well, since the other lines don't have square stations to deliver the customers to, it only makes sense to sort of like dump them to dump them at connecting stations where the square customers can be delivered to, basically. So as I said before, bridges are important, and since I had no bridges, I wanted to have a bit more flexibility in sort of dealing with in sort of just being able to extend my lines beyond, because I had a weird feeling that something could go wrong, something could go very, very wrong, and so I thought, okay, let's just be careful. So here I'm taking a moment to sort of just reorder my green line and my orange line, and you can see now that I've got them basically hooked onto 2 square stations each. And so one of the benefits is that when you have like a train, at least one train running in opposite directions, it will definitely sort of just I wouldn't say facilitate, but maybe the better word is sort of just to keep transport a bit more smoother. And but yeah, for now we're still keeping it on square stations and only 2 lines, and since all the square stations were pretty much spawning in the middle, that really made matters fairly easy for me, in my opinion. Yeah, other times you may not be as... I don't know whether the square stations will spawn outside of the middle area, but if that's the case, then all I can say is that I had a lucky run this time round, and equipped with my fairly straightforward strategy that I sort of just figured out on the fly, it's obviously enough for success in that sense. So as you can see, I've established a loop on the blue line. Again, it's also because the blue line has started to get fairly long, and having the loop allows me to run trains in opposite directions in order to sort of just help move customers around a little. And although it probably doesn't really make all that much effort, then it's a bit hard to say. And I guess what I say can't be completely conclusive, but that's what I felt that at the time is probably the most efficient way of handling it, because as you can see on the blue line, there's just like circle, triangle, and then circle, circle, and it's still only circle and triangle stations, but I guess yeah, I don't know. That's something I'm gonna need to figure out. So we've just had a diamond station spawn on the purple line, so that basically means any diamond, and since diamond stations tend to be unique on their own, and so it basically means that maybe I will need to attach the purple line back to the red line, or that diamond customers will start getting dumped at the north end, or basically at the top, or where the purple line meets the green line. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. We seem to be going well fairly for now, and I think the other thing I think I want to point out is that I've got the purple line connected to the green and the blue line connected to the red. That looks like red, looks like orange. And that's definitely one of the things you sort of want to do, to sort of just split, like basically share the load, so that one line is not transporting all the square customers, and it will basically make life easier in that regard. So the blue line should be stretched out a fair amount, and and it looks like I've just added another train to the green line just to help with, just to deal with the dumping of all the square customers. But definitely the blue line is needing some attention, since I do need some extra carriages, in which I'm just acquiring now at the end of week 7 and applying the... what am I doing here? Alright, yeah, that makes sense. So another train on the purple line too, because I've still got only 1 locomotive with 1 carriage on the purple line, and that's definitely making life a bit difficult on the purple line thus far. And adding another carriage to the green line, which probably isn't as useful right now. Maybe it would have been better added to the blue line, but at the time, I guess I was thinking, well, the green line is gonna get this clusterfuck of square customers at the junction where it meets the purple line, so it's probably a best idea it's probably a better idea to deal with it. But as you can see, I'm sort of moving the extra carriage now to a train on the blue line to sort of just help deal with the congestion happening on the blue line. And so some micromanagement is happening, because the top part of the blue line is starting to get a bit congested, and with that square station that just spawned near the bottom middle, that's not gonna lie, it feels kind of pointless. And so there was like nothing special I was really gonna do about it. And so with that, I think let's see. I'm trying to just figure out why I did what I just did, which was that moving the attachment of the blue line to the red line to a circle station. And my best guess is that maybe I just wanted to move that station closer to a square station so that trains coming on the red line can just pick up and then immediately drop you off at the next stop. But certainly there is a bit of trouble happening, which, you know, is definitely making me nervous by now. And as you probably noticed, I've slowed it down. Like I've taken off the fast forward, and because I felt like that I just needed to carefully pay attention to what's happening. So I just added a carriage to one of the locomotives on the red line, and a diamond station. That's also a diamond station. Okay. Well, I'm gonna need to find another name now. So a diamond station, proper diamond this time, like an actual diamond. God damn it. So another diamond station spawned on the purple line, which is definitely something to be wary of. And now that the blue line's getting busy enough, I've somehow finally realized that maybe I should use that extra line I have to help things out on the right side. So as I detach the blue line and I attach an orange one, making use of my leftover tunnels as well, I like to think there's a very sufficient usage of my resources. So that will hopefully alleviate some of the problems that the blue line is having, especially with it being so long, and as a result congestion happening at some of the stations. And so orange line has come to the rescue. That's pretty cheesy. So moving on, I'm still having a fair amount of trouble. So, and one of the things is, of course, that I needed to. It's like now I have too many trains for stuff on the blue line, and as a result, it was best to move them to the orange line just to help with some of the congestion happening. So it's now the end of week 8, and I'm a bit stuck on deciding what to do or what to pick more accurately. And so I was thinking, you know, maybe would bridges be good, because like I want to have a bit more flexibility. And I was thinking probably not, because the map is sort of, if you see the map that's sort of like expanded out now, it doesn't feel like more bridges would be necessary. I could have been very, very wrong though, in that maybe a station could have spawned across the river to the left of the purple line and thus screwing me over, but at the time that was like a risk I was prepared to take. And well, I know it's a risk, but admittedly, it's definitely, if a station had spawned on the river to the left of the purple line, I definitely would have lost the game then, because there would have been far too much micromanaging to do. And I would definitely have been far too stressed out by then. So things are getting busy. We just hit 1200, and the blue line's still keeping itself fairly. The blue line's still getting fairly congested, but with the addition of the yellow line, life should definitely be a bit easier. And the one good thing about the yellow line is that it will at least move some of the triangle and the circle customers around. And the fact that it's also connected with some of the stations on the blue and the orange line means that it takes some of the stress off the blue and orange lines as well. So that definitely worked out in my favor. And what's interesting is that I really didn't like. It's like now I'm sort of just finding that a good mixture of loops and non-loops for each of the line is definitely important. And part of it is, again, is still a feel how you go and just figure things out as you go. And I guess part of it is also influenced by where the stations are spawning. And looks like a pause for I can't remember if it is like an extended break that I took because of yeah, okay. Okay, there was a long break that I just took, and so which was Well, I definitely edited out in the video, but yeah, there was there was a long break between what I just said and what's happening, and I can't quite remember why, but obviously I was probably just called away to do something. So that junction between the blue and the red line is definitely getting a bit of congestion, in which some micromanagement is definitely needed. Although I definitely had a bit of trouble in sort of just trying to figure out which train to move around, basically. And I think that's probably one of the things that maybe the game can improve on the UI, whether it's actually intentional or not, but to actually have, like, say, the numbers, like the number of locomotives that they currently have on their lines, maybe as a number on top of the dots, and that would definitely help with sort of just I guess overseeing how everything is. But it may well be that on the design perspective they want to keep to a fairly minimalist design, and as such there's just some things that we can sort of just still figure out for ourselves. But definitely one of the problems I was having with this game was like just trying to see how many trains there are on each line, because sometimes the train is hiding behind the station and it's not very easy to see, and sometimes I just end up like pausing or just stopping for a few seconds, then pausing again just to see the train moves and to hopefully sort of just see how many trains, how many stations there are. So yeah, I don't know, I have a feeling it's kind of a design decision, but at the same time it could also be something that the developer just sort of didn't think to include. So, but I mean, it's not like the game is impossible without it. It's just that it's just a minor inconvenience in my opinion, so I'm really not gonna fret over it too much. So I'm obviously having some trouble re-threading the green line through to include the circle station that is just spawned in the top right, and definitely we are seeing some additional crowding in the middle, which is certainly with the amount of blips that are happening a cause for worry. But thankfully at the end of the weeknight we've got a new tool to the rescue, which is our interchange, and you can't imagine the sigh of relief I had, because like I think it was in my previous video, the Thames Tunnel video, interchanges are so useful, but they are definitely sort of just hard to figure out where you want to put them. So definitely in a challenge such as this one, interchanges are definitely useful for putting on the square station, because since the trains will be transporting, since chances are the majority of customers that like say the green and the red lines will be transporting will be square customers, it makes sense to have an interchange on the square station that they are most likely to deposit the customers at. So obviously for me it makes sense to choose the square station that's interchanging with the square station that both the green and red lines are going through, because it's gonna be, I guess it's gonna be crossed more often than the other square stations, so that kind of makes sense to me then. And as such you can probably see some of the immediate benefits. The other thing is that in its holding more customers, especially like say the some of the diamond customers, for example, that are to be transported to the purple line. The square station holding them is definitely doing us a bit more favor in being able to hold more customers without without unnecessarily bleeping and causing me, well, I guess it's not unneeded panic, but definitely some form of panic. So moving on, I'm surprised the purple line has not been too particularly busy, and that is actually managing itself fairly well with only two trains and one with one carriage. So definitely it's definitely I am probably a bit lucky in that regard, but at the same time it's also careful enough management such that like the congestion issues are just not as apparent. So we've broken 1600, so that's our achievement, square times achieved. And yeah, it is definitely at this stage things start to get very stressful, and yeah, it's a very properly tuned number. It's like definitely at that point it's like a hard slog up to the top, and then after that it just becomes near impossible to deal with. So yeah, so that's the I keep forgetting the name. That's the square times achievement for you. And hopefully this video has been helpful with some of the tips and some of the strategies, and as well as my with my actual playing it. And even though this is post commentary, so yeah, hopefully this video is helpful. And with that, thank words. And with that, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.